They're born with inalienable rights and necessities which require each of us to sleep. No matter whether we go to work every day or we're looking for work or just sustainability on a daily level, we need to sleep, and sleep is required. The body requires to sleep. And also on the issue of sleep being illegal, how can you wake up in the morning after having been asleep, no matter where you're sleeping, and you're given a $100 ticket as a fine for sleeping, the basic right? If we had more beds to sleep in, we wouldn't have to sleep on the streets. But whether you show up to court or not, for that $100 ticket, if you don't pay the fine, then you're given community service. That's an insult. We need to sleep. We need more beds to sleep in.
I was a homeowner in Longmont for 16 years, and I've been homeless for a little over than a year and a half now, a little more than a year and a half now. And I would like to talk about some of the economics regarding ticketing homeless people with $100 fines for simply sleeping outside when they have no bed to sleep in, when the shelter is closed for the summer, when boho or overflow people are also closed for the summer. There is no place for us to sleep, and it's ridiculous to fine us $100 because we can't pay it. If people go to jail because they fail to show up in court or can't get to their community service, then that means that the jail pays $70 a night to house them. And not to mention the court costs, the time of the judge and the prosecuting attorney, the jurors' time and fees that they are paid. It just doesn't make sense. If that money were put into finding more indoor and outdoor shelter for people on a year-round basis, there wouldn't be this problem. Because, as it has been mentioned, we need to sleep. I've fallen asleep spontaneously countless times, probably illegally. You wake up with a start, and and you could get a ticket or not, just depending on circumstances. It's a matter of just right time and right place.
Hello, I'm Michael Fitzgerald. I'm part of the homeless population here in Boulder, and I want to address the fact that here we are, the shelters are closed, boho is not going to be operating, and we're still here, and we're still sleeping wherever we can, in any approach that we can, as long as we try to do it legally. This last week has been very rough on a lot of us because of the inclement weather, and just because it's June, July, or August, we're still going to see some kind of this weather. Keeping things dry, keeping people safe, keeping people from freaking out I think is the city's responsibility now to address some of these issues. And this is the reason why we're going through with this, having to sleep in and having these protests and showing them that we can't tolerate it much longer.
The Executive Director of Boulder Outreach for Homeless Overflow. I'm more speaking as a citizen here than I am as an Executive Director, but let's look at the security of people living in the street as the subject. It really matters on this camping ticket deal or this camping ordinance deal. So if there's a perpetrator that's wanting to commit a crime against a homeless person, when the homeless person is required or has a necessity to hide themselves in order to sleep, they're right away doing half of that criminal perpetrator's job. Rather as a rapist or a thief or whatever may be on that perpetrator's mind, all of a sudden the homeless person finding a spot out of sight, completely ensconced in a private or secluded area to try to get through the night, well, that's just opening the door for a perpetrator to do evil and mean things to people. So from that level alone, since many of the other benchmarks have already been touched on by the people to my left here, I thought I would speak about the security, not to devalue the idea of sleep being a necessity, or the fact, like Michael said, we're still here. We're not going anywhere. And more beds would definitely be a help. in this regard, an ability to provide some sort of security for homeless people as well as attending to the need of sleep.
I'm David Harrison. I'm a local lawyer here with the firm Miller and Harrison. So it's my understanding that the purpose of the goal of the sleep-in is to comply with the camping without consent ordinance, not to break it. The judge in the case in a couple of rulings has indicated that people sleeping in layers of clothing, as long as there's no additional shelter used, complies with the ordinance. And just to be clear, the ordinance allows people to nap during the day using shelter. But once the sun goes down, it's then illegal to use any type of shelter to sleep. So my understanding is that the people who are involved in the sleep-in intend to comply with the ordinance, which is sleep solely in their clothing between sunset and 1 hour after sunrise, because the courts have said that's okay. Of course, the problem with that, as being the way an ordinance is that it's not very realistic for most nights of the year, given the temperature and the weather. But my understanding is that's the intention of this group. Now, I guess we're lucky to have learned from the court that Boulder's camping ordinance is not discriminatory, because as the court says, on its face, the ordinance applies equally to residents and non-residents and to those who have a home and those who do not. So, whether you have a home or not in Boulder, you're welcome to come to the sleep-in. So, I am happy to say that the court rejected the prosecutor's idea that the answer to not having a place to legally sleep in the City of Boulder is to leave the City of Boulder. That was the prosecutor's argument at one point during the trials that we had. Kind of a get out of town by sundown approach. I'm happy to say the court rejected that. But the court, on the other hand, found that it rejected the argument that penalizing people for sleeping is cruel and unusual punishment, and it did that by finding that the ordinance doesn't criminalize homelessness, only the act of using a shelter to sleep between sunset and 1 hour after sunrise. So again, I guess it applies equally to rich and poor, people with homes, people without homes. So we're a little frustrated with some of that, but the goal, I understand, of the sleep-in this weekend is to comply with the ordinance and hopefully make the point that the ordinance is just silly.
And all asking, what do we do now? You know, and we basically scatter at night like a pack of wolves.
Sir, why don't you come over here and we can see the signs. But apparently this protest is starting off a little slowly today, and we're just set up what looks like a table where people can discuss their opinion on homelessness, but as well sign a petition so that we can get some list of Boulder residents and their supporters. So unfortunately, it's a cloudy day, and there's not even that much activity for the farmers market, as there usually is. So this might be one of those symbolic protests that goes by quietly.
For people to sit out here all night with no shelter, no blankets, no sleeping bags, in the rain, in the cold, and the people aren't going to do it. So you're going to not have any support.
But you know why we're doing that.
I do know why you're doing it, but it's not going to help anybody. It's going to make things worse. I mean, these people are living on the street. They're not having camp out for one little night. You know, you can't just come out here and protest. for 7 hours. And
Protesting the protest.
I'm protesting the protest, man. If you're gonna freaking do it right. Don't halfway do it.
Okay, then are you prepared to get a ticket tonight?
I was prepared to get a ticket. Take my community service on the chin.
We're trying to actually change this law so that there's some kind of equality to it. I mean, this is a human rights issue. It isn't just about, financials and stuff like that. I mean, people have to sleep. This community isn't all that supportive. This is a very stratified place. I mean, this is a upper class place, and to a certain degree, they really don't want lower class people or people who are economically disadvantaged to live here.
Do you know the issue in Boulder in regard to the homeless?
Isn't it against the law to sleep in public?
That's pretty much the law.
They can put you in jail for being asleep in your car.
They can do that as well.
There are various other ways that they're unfriendly to the low-budget tourists of Boulder.
Or they may not even be tourists. They may actually live here year in and year out.
Even worse.
It shouldn't be a crime to sleep out in public.
It's straight out mean-hearted. In the olden days, it was between the cowboys and the hippies. And then the hippies won. And then they became the new cowboys. Intolerance needs to be held in check. This this Boulder action is improper. It's mean-hearted. Needs to be stopped. Everybody needs to absolutely pack the chambers. When they're doing most of their things, they can do whatever they want. City council, you can do whatever you want. But when you have something bad like this, you need to stop.
How do you feel? Do you think the homeless should be issued tickets if they're caught sleeping on public land? Or private land?
Well, that's just an issue. I don't think that's there's kind of a proliferation of people begging on street corners around here, and it's unpleasant, and I feel sorry for people who are in need, but I hate being approached all the time.
But how about forget the
I think there's a. I think the plight of people in that situation is something that has to be addressed in toto.
Well, obviously everyone's supposed to fit into a mold of society standard that you're supposed to have enough money to have a house and be like them. But everybody can't be the same.
Least sympathetic to the homeless are people that have moved here in the last 10 years who are wealthy, and they say, what are these dirtbags? Why are these losers hang out in my city?
Yeah, that's the way it is. The new people always want to block the roads once they get a piece of, they want to keep it for themselves, so that they think they found it. And just not respecting fellow human beings. Economic status does not make you smarter or better.
Give everybody housing, or give them a shelter.
So maybe housing should be a right. I'm wondering, just the basic, if there was a warehouse, there must be one empty warehouse in this city that they could allot for the homeless to stay overnight.
You know what? There's more than one warehouse in this city. There's a million of them, and I see them all the time. I could point out buildings that are vacant and been for rent for a long time, and people don't want them because of location.
And obviously the Boulder leaders don't want any homeless in the downtown area for sure. Obviously, most of the tickets are probably along the creek, and they aren't out, in the boundaries.
You know what? You're right. All the tickets are downtown because only the beat cops, the bicycle cops, and all these other cops are just, all they do is ride around downtown and pick out the homeless and the poor people and the drinkers and stuff like that and the smokers and stuff and give some tickets. If you go out the foothills or past foothills, you don't hardly see a cop at all.
We're here and we're here to stay, and we're here to stay for the better and the good of this city. And I really believe that. Because I know we're all good. They don't understand that. And that's our mission, is to let them know that we're good and we're worth working with. And that's really what I'm about. And so I'm going to turn it over to anybody that has a story that they want to really share, that they have a reason to be in here, and or an inspiration or anything, an idea. If we're doing it wrong, please give us a suggestion. We might better this, because we can only get better by continuing what we started. And I think we really started something good here. And I want to, like again, I appreciate everything that people has done today and said to me and everybody else.
We was drinking coffee at Lolita's, and this guy come by like people in Boulder will. He was moving out of town, and he dropped off some possessions he was not going to take with him, and one of them happened to be this pillow. Brand spanking new. I'm talking about straight out of mom's closet pillow. I was like, put that up underneath my arm. It was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I wasn't ready to go to sleep then, but I know that eventually I was going to lay down and go to sleep somewhere in the streets of Boulder, and that pillow was going to be a good thing to have. So about 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, whenever it was, I curled up down here by 15th and Pearl, behind a new piece of construction that was going on, and the guy that works in there come in the morning, and he woke me up, and he comes and he finds me sleeping behind this place, and he goes, "Hey brother, hey man, is that a pillow?"
So I spent 3 nights in my car. I didn't ever have to sleep out under the stars like you guys. The women of the shelter were privileged. We each had a bed. The men, it really broke my heart that 30 men were turned away, at least 30 men every night. That really bothered me, to know that some of my friends that I had met, some really respectful people, some people that I see up at workforce all the time searching for jobs, were sleeping outside, while there are places here that could be arranged for them to have a shelter.
I come from the worst place in this country. I'm originally from Detroit. I was in boys' homes. I bounced around there, and this place saved my life. I came here when I finished school, and I told myself I was going to find the most beautiful place in this country to live, and I found Boulder. And now I feel, with the camping ordinance, with the treatment of this community, that they're trying to push me away. And I didn't travel across the country. I didn't come all the way out here to the best town that I could find just to be pushed away because I don't have the resources, or I wasn't born with the kind of money that a lot of these students were. So I'm trying to get involved. Since we're all here, we're all trying to get involved, and hopefully we can make a difference.
I wanted to thank Carolyn Beninsky back there, especially for organizing the food and helping folks. Yeah, about 45 years ago, Martin Luther King was going from Jerusalem to Jericho, a distance of about 20-30 miles and about 1,000-foot drop. In that space, and the road was exactly the way it was 2,000 years before. And Martin Luther King thought back, and he remembered the parable about the Good Samaritan. And if you are not familiar with it, that's someone was lying on the ground, and people kept walking by. They would just look, not stop. They'd keep walking by. Someone on a donkey kept riding by. People just kept going by 2,000 years ago. No one stopped. Finally, the Good Samaritan stopped, and he helped pick up this person, took him with him, and fed him and clothed him. And so I guess the idea behind this is that the people who were passing by were afraid. They were afraid that possibly there would be bandits coming and taking their money and hurting them, or that maybe this person was playing possum. So they all kept going by while the Good Samaritan stopped. And Martin Luther King was saying, what this seemed to symbolize is that the people who passed were saying, what will happen if I stop and help this person? And the Good Samaritan said to himself, what will happen if I don't stop and help this person? And so we look at the city council here, and which one are they acting as? They're saying, well, if we help people who are less fortunate than us, what will happen? Instead of thinking like the Good Samaritan, what will happen to people if it's snowing, if it's raining, if they're sick, if they're tired, if they're old? That's the problem with our city council.
I would like to invite us to solidarity. Not a solidarity that is just the 30 people here. Especially not us 30 people against those people. Or those people. Or any of those people. Perhaps what we can do is invite a solidarity that includes all people.
They are us, man.
They are us. We are them. So if we can recognize our neighbor as ourselves, then we have a chance.
So what we need to do is get these people in here to say, we need to take care of the people that are disadvantaged. We need to take, I think it was Jesus that said we need to love our brothers and sisters. That there's 2 commandments, love God and love neighbor. If we're loving God and loving neighbor, we're loving ourselves, we're loving our families, we're loving the people that come in contact with us. My commitment to be here today with you is a commitment I've had for the last 10 years. To do my best to create a world where everyone wins. Well, if everybody's winning, it means I gotta be winning, but not at the expense of my wife, or my children, or my family, or my community.
This is called The Man No One Knows, and it was written for George. He pulls the carpet piece under the patio light, pulls the blanket over him, and sleeps. It is safer to sleep in the light when homeless. No one can steal from him, rape him, attack him. Too much of a chance of being seen in the light. He once slept in the darkness, but being in the light is safer. He had turned from the darkness to the light, limping from wounds earned in another lifetime. The man no one knows walks down the street, begging for quarters. He wipes windshields with vinegar and newspaper, his hands stinging. He hopes for a kind word as well as $1. He is met only with silence. There is no one to speak with, so he reads. He reads newspapers, magazines, the New Testament from the mission. Even the foxes have holes, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. Churches have Bible quotes on the billboards in front, but no food, no money, no shelter for a homeless man, so he just walks. Women walk away, pull the children closer to their skirts when he walks down the sidewalk. And when he walks down the sidewalk, he longs to hold a child on his knee as he had once done. He wants some wine for his stomach's sake. It hurts. Hunger hurts. He thinks of the past, the weddings, the parties where wine had flowed like water. He wants to share, but he has nothing but the dirt, the cast-off clothing, his body, his blood. The man no one knows walks down our streets and listens for the words he taught so long ago. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that is from Sonny Eckhart. Thank you.
I want to say I made it successfully through one of the transitional programs here in town from being homeless. It's called Housing First, and now I'm a client over at Boulder Housing Partners, so I'm grateful to be here today to talk to you about this.
My wife, Sonny Eckhart, whose poem was read previously by Phyllis, and her husband Daniel asked me to read another poem that she wrote that he pulled from the collection. I am street housed, caught, trapped in this web of streets. I am hungry. My stomach sounds remind me of my need for food. I am cold. The darkness of night has no warmth in it. This net of streets has become my home. I am a predator eager for a victim. I have steeled my heart against friendships. Like a spider, I'm alone in the center of my world. Nothing comes near except food I entice. There is no news without community. I am street house, caught in this web of streets. I may never dwell in 4 walls again. This poem is as lost as I am.
And what's your experience with camping? Have you had a problem with camping, or has it been pretty much you've been able to hide away, or?
I've been able to find some good spots. I mean, you gotta find them, but once you find them, don't tell anyone else, and you'll be good.
Homeless people are people too, you know what I mean? And we all, we're not just how people, it's funny how people look in other people's eyes, but actually you got a lot of good people joining together, having some food, sharing ideas, conversations.
I saved a lot of bodies from the Katrina people down Biloxi, Mississippi. I'm a master carpenter. I went down there and volunteered, and then I got sick and broke my back 5 places. Now I'm out here. I know what it is to be out here to try to survive. These people that got it made and everything, they don't know. And it takes a lot of heart. And if you're really serious about it, you can come out of it.
I would guess that you're wise enough and quick enough and sleek enough to find a camping site that the police won't bother you.
Well, nah, I'm not going to be shagging, I'm not bolding on that. I just give it to God. God just guides me, and I go where He guides me. That's what I do. And I clean up my land, or ate my land, but the land that I borrow for the moment, because it's survival. And I had one officer to realize that when he seen me and what I built one time, and he respected it. And he says, you're different from a lot of other homeless people we deal with. I said, I understand that. And it's all about me surviving and getting back to where I was.
Say they allowed camping. What would you do then at that point?
Oh, I'd find a sufficient spot, you know, to where it wouldn't hinder the people inside the city, and do it on the outside to see where, and then have a bus line that can get out there and back, and have all the abilities to compensate these people, you know, and give them a maximum time there, you know, like a year to help, you know, go and get regrouped, where they could get back on their feet and get back into the real world, you know what I'm saying? And just not just a place where people can go and drink and party and not make nothing of their life, you know what I mean? And have cabins there for people to shower in and everything. That would really help a lot. And water, make sure they got water there no matter what, they got to year round, because people die out here real quick on dehydration to the winter, the fall, the spring, or the summer. But the point is, they got to have somebody monitoring that area, living there on the premises, monitoring it, to keep law and order and stuff. You have to, because people can't do it on their own, because they're not trained mentally, you know what I mean? Because they're so whacked out on their own depression or physical disabilities, you know what I'm saying?
So you'd basically need 1, 2, or 3 people to be the leaders of this encampment.
Elect them.
So to make it almost a board just for homelessness.
Yeah, and elect them. I wouldn't know how to run one in a minute.
I mean, they have a human relations board, so why not have the homeless board?
And have a mediation board with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, mediation is already part of the city policy.
Yeah, but real mediation. Let's not put it just on the front scene just so you can save face. Let's get something accomplished behind the scenes, all right?
So if they had a sanctioned area, say out on 63rd, because of course they don't want to do it in central Boulder. They'll never accept anything downtown or anything that's too visible. So if they did, say, out 6 miles from the city center.
Outside the city limits.
Would you go and would you camp there and participate?
I'd help them run the place. I would help them set it up. I would know how to do it, because I've been involved with FEMA. I've been involved with Katrina people, and I've seen the camps. I've been part of the camps. They work. And, you know, you have security there a little bit. You have people, medical. You have people there, caseworkers that volunteer come, you know, and help people that need help, you know, with their personal business and stuff. And you'd be surprised how many people's rised up out of the gutters and got themselves together, you know what I mean?
Instead of saying, hey, let's find a solution, they said, oh my God, this is what, if we allowed no camping tickets, then it would just allow everyone to camp wherever they want.
The fines on these homeless people. They can't, they're homeless, okay? Don't try to take advantage of them and put a barrier or a burden on their back, but about their, you know, give them $100 fines or filling your jails up so you can make some money. You need to abolish that law, because that law really is a fine line. You guys know it, I know it, and the people that are educated that's homeless on the street know it too, okay?
So you're relatively new to homelessness.
I don't know how to deal with it. I've never been homeless before in my life. And so you know what you do? You know what I do? I hope this is not going to be seen in public. Anyways,
It's okay. It's all right.
I go to the library, and that's where I wash my hair, take a shower, and clean myself.
How did you get in such a desperate situation? It's too personal, or?
I got tired of getting beat up all the time.
So you were in a bad relationship? And
So I left.
Now, have you tried to get help with?
Oh yeah, I tried to get a lot of help, but I never got none.
Yeah.
Yep.
So eventually you had to fend for yourself.
Yep. The one good thing that happened in my life right now is I fell in love with this wonderful man.
And he's been protective and non-abusive? Or?
Oh hell, he takes care of me better than anybody in this world.
Surprised I'm still happy. Let's put it that way.
Well, anyway,
I love him.
She makes it better.
Get ready for the council meeting.
What do you think about that homeless issue?
Which one?
The homeless issue. You know, the one where the camping tickets. You think, is there a solution we can come
I think,
to?
yeah, we need to provide housing for everybody. 100% housing.
Well, that would be great, but that's going to take 10, 20, 30 years.
Well, I think we got to start working on it. It's important.
It is important.
Yeah, we got to housing first.
What's your position here on the homeless situation?
With the homeless situation, I think the homeless situation, the decision was made, and I think it was put to bed. And we spend don't get it too close. We spend $1.9 million a year, and we're working hard at making it right.
But what about the camping tickets? I mean, basically you're making homeless criminals. So, I mean, I know there's a long-term project to get some homes for the homeless, but as far as the summertime...
And the homeless shelter is working on 30 or 40 new beds, which you probably know about, right next door, and I think they're buying some more land for that issue too. So,
yeah, but the homeless shelter's closed for 6 months, so what do we do?
Well, it shouldn't camp.
Shouldn't camp, but where do they go?
You know, I don't know. I mean...
That's the hard decision.
I hear you, Seth.
All right, George, thanks for your input.
It's really important that we understand that homeless people are an integral part of the community. What I say is it doesn't make sense to close down what is available for the summer, claiming that, you know, homeless people have somewhere to go when they don't. And it seems to me that option needs to be provided year-round. You know, you don't just close the shelters because the summer has started.
You've done your part as a homeless person. You really have.
I just hope now we can bring this all into the city council, and hopefully they're going to listen. They saw our example of what we can do as a group. So hopefully they'll take it and go with it and give us some place that we can just lay down and be not bothered.
I live in Broomfield, but I spent the night up here at the protest. Spent the night in the park and felt that the conditions were, by anybody's estimation, inhumane. To ask someone to sleep without cover, and that's why I'm going to speak tonight. You know, it's ironic, you know, that we criminalize poverty, and it seems like the intent is just to get it out of sight or sweep it to the city limits. And I think as a society, we need to embrace more of a oneness. I know, you know, the city came out. One of the things I'm going to talk about tonight, the city came out in opposition of the bill in Arizona, you know, basically legalizing racial profiling because it was a violation of civil rights. And I think we need to apply that same, and they talked about it as being the heart of the Boulder mission, or whatnot. It wasn't the mission.
We have community core values.
Core values, thank you, that was it. Well, those core values, if those core values include that, it should also include, you know, not criminalizing being homeless.
What would be your solution, do you think?
It seems that the requirements seem to be so minimal. I don't understand. You know, basically what they're asking is a place where they can lay down and cover up without being rousted at 1 o'clock in the morning and given a ticket. Okay, and to me, and basic sanitation. I know for the protests we did over the weekend, they had a sandalette over here. How basic is that? You can lay down here from dusk till dawn
Nobody's going to hassle you. At dawn, you pick up your stuff and you leave. There's basic sanitation available. And, you know, when, in the morning, the park was fine. I mean, they didn't trash the park. And one of the things that, you know, I did see some things, you know, these people aren't animals. And I think, you know, you know, at times some of them may act like animals, but I think it's because they're being treated like animals.
Sweep it under the rug.
Exactly. You know,
if you can't see it, then it's not. It's like the oil slick. If they can put some real dangerous chemical on it and make it invisible, then it's not going to be dangerous, right? Well, you know what? If it's out there and it's having problems, as Christians, and everybody in this here town says that they're Christians or at least believe in Christian ideas, how about taking care of the people that are needy instead of trampling on them all the more? It's absolutely, I have my Republican spin and saying, oh, that's typical Boulder, the Democrats, you know. Rather than taking care of people, the downtrodden, and being an example for the rest of the country, we're being a laughingstock at the rest of the country for being so hypocritical like so many other people in this world.
You know, one thing I recognize Saturday night when I was staying and trying to sleep, I mean, and I could not sleep. You know, I was bundled up, I wasn't cold, but I'm laying on the damp grass. I could not sleep. I mean, I found it intolerable. But and I recognize there are a lot of other needs here. I mean, there are reasons why some of these people are homeless, and there are addiction problems, and there are a lot of issues. But I don't think that any of them come into play until you address the basic physiological need to sleep.
Your name is?
Joy Eckstein. I'm the executive director of the Carriage House Community Table. The Carriage House is 1,250 square feet, and every inch of space is used.
My name is Martha Rosner. I work for Boulder County Mental Health, and Carriage House buys some hours for me to come here and see people. I also work at the Boulder Shelter for the Homeless in the evenings, and I kind of do, what do? I de-escalate upset people, and I do counseling. I do referrals for mental health and other services.
Have you found it difficult working here, or
It's difficult because we're in such close quarters, and a lot of times there isn't a lot of privacy. And sometimes I meet with people in the bathroom because that's the only free space. The people who meet with me want to meet with me, so I mean, in that sense, they're motivated, they want help, and I feel like there's a lot of opportunities to help people. Maybe it's just connecting them with services, or maybe it's just listening. A lot of people just want to tell their story to somebody.
Well, I've noticed that just going around and talking to the homeless, that just them expressing whatever mental state they are in seems to make them happier.
Well, feeling that somebody sees them and hears what, that they're not invisible. And, I think that's important, that someone just sees them as a person and spends time with them.
We really believe in providing people's basic needs as a way to form a relationship with them, so that then, after some of their basic needs are met, it is much easier for them to attend to some of their other needs. You can't go to day labor if your feet are covered in blisters because you're diabetic and you don't have your insulin.
Or as many homeless keep complaining about is they don't get a good night's sleep, and they're dirty and they're messy, and how are they supposed to show up for an interview or anything, or day labor, because basically they're just recovering from the night before.
Well, that's one of the reasons we offer showers, but a big need that people have is for a place to store their things during the day while they go and do their business. And we do actually have an interview clothing room, which is what the people out there are doing, is sorting through the donations to separate out the more dressy clothes. First Baptist lets us keep a room full of interview clothing in their church. We have 6 full-time equivalents and 125 clients through here on average a day, about another 75 or 100 to the nightly meals. And our caseworker sees anywhere between 20 and 25 people a day, and we also have a very active schedule of groups and classes and activities for people. The amount of clients rose by 16% last year. So we've had to look really hard at how we give out resources and kind of ration things a little bit and make sure that everything we're doing is fair and everybody has an equal chance. But we are absolutely inundated with people. Some of the things that we do to help people, the mental health outreach that we mentioned, People's Clinic also comes into outreach. We have a volunteer to help people fill out any kinds of forms or applications, because some people don't read so well, or some people are actually illiterate, or they're head injured. There's a lot of head injured people here. We have a medication support group for people that have questions about their medications or their side effects or how to talk to their doctor. Southwest Acupuncture College does acupuncture every Tuesday from 9 to 12. A jail outreach worker, a computer tutor, a volunteer that does craniosacral massage. Art group, women's hours, AA, HIV testing, a peer support group. The men's art group is starting next Thursday, and an addiction group. You know, we want to support anybody in the community that is struggling financially. So there are quite a few people that come here that are just poor, and having some of the help with the resources helps them stretch their money out so they can continue to stay in their apartment. We have an ID fund to help people purchase IDs, and we help them with all the paperwork. A prescription fund. A rent assistance fund. We give small amounts like $50 or $75, but that can keep someone in an apartment, and it's $60 a night for emergency shelter. So one $50 check can save the whole community a lot of money. We have a small eyeglass fund. About 30% of homeless people are working, and then there's a lot of people that fight their way out of homelessness into housing, but financially their lives are so limited because of being disabled or because of having sort of entry-level jobs, that these kinds of resources help keep people housed. So not only do we try to help people get into housing, but once they're in housing, we give a lot of services, and not many people know that we give those kinds of services to help keep people in stable housing. And it's really important. It's less trauma for them, it's less expensive for the community. One of our values is inclusion. So there's a couple people on the staff that are formerly homeless. There's a person on our board that's formerly homeless. Heather holds a monthly input meeting, and I'm grinning because she forgot it last month and didn't reschedule.
No. So sometimes when you meet 20 people a day, it gets certain things just kind of slip.
Suddenly Tuesday becomes Friday.
Exactly. Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
But Heather does do this meeting once a month to get people that come here get their ideas and suggestions and input and complaints. And we also do a satisfaction survey quarterly that does the same thing. So we are really, really seeking input and ideas from the people that we serve in a number of different ways, so that people have different ways of communicating with us.
And we actually implement them too. We probably implement 90% of the suggestions that come out of that group. One thing for people to realize is that we have clients here from every background. We have someone who used to be a world-class musician. We have we have multiple people who have master's degrees, which tends to scare me. We have people who, did not graduate high school, but have worked. Retarded people. And we have people who worked the oil industry for years. They don't have a degree, but they have the skilled knowledge. So it's not, you can never say that a homeless person sits in this little box. This is a homeless person. And I think the other thing, part of what, especially in Boulder, tends to happen is there's an image that, well, Boulder's so rich and we're so high educated. Of course, these people have to be coming from outside.
But that's completely false. There's good research that shows research from 3 different sources.
Where homeless people have a hard time migrating anyway, really.
Right. But that 75, maybe even more of 75% of the people that are homeless here are from this community or the surrounding communities. So it's a lot different to look at someone and say, that's someone that's part of my community that's having a hard time, than it is to say, to get into this xenophobic mindset that we are giving such incredible resources to homeless people that we are attracting them from all over the nation. The research does not support that. We no longer have things that adequately serve elderly people, mentally retarded people, mentally ill people, domestic violence victims, and then when those people become homeless, we blame them. And it's very, very, very frustrating. And yes, it is, some people make extremely bad choices in their lives, no doubt. But it's really not so simple to categorize. People, someone to become homeless, it's a complex interplay of social and economic factors, personal vulnerabilities, and sort of what their social capital is. Do they happen to have family or friends or other types of supports for when they're in a crisis or not? Hopefully you do.
I almost see the denial within themselves sometimes about them saying, oh, I'm out here because this is what I want to do, and there's no way I would want to be a part of society. But sometimes I think that there's something underneath that as well.
The longer I do this, and I've done this job now for 6 years, the more I get to know those exact people that you're talking about. Almost universally, they come from lives of such incredible trauma and deprivation that is no wonder that they are saying that they don't want to be a part of the larger society. And when you get those people separately from their peer group where they have some bravado, almost everyone I know dreams of a different life for themselves. But sometimes when you're really down and out, it's very painful to vocalize those dreams, because to vocalize that means you're setting yourself up for disappointment. There's no one that comes here that doesn't have a lot of loss and grief and pain and trauma in their lives. And so we frequently cannot solve a person's problems, but we can treat them well.
Why should we help them or put my good earnings, my tax dollars into getting someone out of the gutter?
Those tax dollars are being spent to take care of people either way. So you can either pay for ambulances and fire trucks and police officers.
Or state hospitals.
Well, actually, way more mentally ill people are in jails and prisons than are in state hospitals. So you can choose the most expensive and most punitive forms of caring for people, or you can pay for services which are not on the emergency end of things. We've had way few people die this year.
Yeah.
We had 4 people die so far this year. And
in the wintertime, or?
Yes, from January 1st in Boulder County, only 4 homeless people have died. And we normally have a total of about 20 people a year that die that are homeless.
Now, are you just talking about those that die under the weather conditions or overdoses, or just in general?
Anyone. We count anyone that's homeless, and then we do a memorial service at the end of the year, regardless of causes of death, because cause of death is usually not that clear cut. Another thing I wanted to draw your attention to is our little sign. It's been 612 days since our last fist fight.
And usually a fist fight might end up bringing the police here, I would think.
Yeah, it's been months since we had the police here for any kind of issue at all. Normally, if we have to call 911, it's for a medical problem or a psychiatric problem. I feel like the city is paying attention and is struggling to figure out the right thing to do, but I think it's hard for them. There are so many different needs. They all require money. The city's tax revenues have gone down the last several years. So how do they meet everyone's needs all at once? That's hard.
Rich, we're out here in Boulder, Colorado. You were living in your van. Yep. Now you're homeless. Well, you were homeless then too. Tell me about it.
Well, I'm originally a widower, well, as far as the homeless trip. Of 95 in February, the wife passed on. And after 3 years of being in the same place I found her in, and I decided to give away the house to a single mom, not that much equity. Took off in my previously converted school bus / camper, and that I didn't consider being homeless because that was more like being in an RV and voluntary, and my big goal was to make it to 2001. Most of us widowers don't outlast our wives that long, and I had a great example across the street. My neighbor similar, but he was older. He didn't last 6 months, and he just keeled over. But I kept on plugging at it, and then in 2004 in Las Vegas, I was doing some halfway decent work. Convention stall building up and taking down kind of thing. But I was there a little too long. It wasn't my kind of town. Boulder's more my kind of place. Got hit by a drunk driver, illegal left turn, intoxicated, all that. But a celebrity or a mucky-muck, they couldn't ever let me know who they were. At first reported that they were a fatality. 2 of the 4 radio stations in Las Vegas reported it as such. So I was like, oh my goodness, but then I was happy to find that I didn't kill somebody out of an accident. But all in all, everything got impounded, and that was my first step in true homelessness. Ended up skedaddling after 4 months being strung along, thinking I'd get some money out of it, but I was just SOL, and didn't even get to know who hit me, even though they were in the wrong and intoxicated. Ended up in Oregon, up in the top of the Salem Valley in a hot springs resort. Found a van they didn't think would work anymore, but wanted off the mountain. Got titled to that. Was living out of that for a couple of years, and then blew it up on a trip to Missouri. And then a friend bought me a Dodge van, which I lost not too long ago due to lack of insurance, due to lack of income. And that was a couple months ago, and got hit while road flagging, so now I got a crazy wrist that's trying to heal, and just keep on plugging on.
So you're a widower.
Yep.
And you gave your house away.
Yeah, but it wasn't that much, it wasn't that big a deal.
Right.
Equity.
And you're just basically traveling around.
Yeah. I've been here in Boulder for about a year now. But my house was just north of here. I used to always live around here.
Any plans of getting out of this?
Oh no.
You're gonna stay homeless.
Oh yeah, I'm homeless or some maybe program, but I have my doubts, and I'm kind of awake about the economic situation. So I'm just here first. I think everybody's going to be joining me shortly.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I don't mean to laugh because it's really actually sad, but.
Back in the day with the wife, the reason we moved out west originally in New Jersey, back in the 80s, 81, in Wyoming, and then moved to Colorado in 92. I eventually wanted my own place and homestead type of thing, and Mother Earth News reading, and so I'm really into survival skills anyways, and Tom Brown, making my own fire and all that good stuff. So, I don't like being cold. I don't like, being hassled by authorities, which is the biggest hassle, is always being hassled by authorities.
If you had 3 wishes, what would they be?
Never be hassled by authorities ever again. Someday finding that place called America that I was fictionally told about when I was a little kid. And bring the old lady back.
Thank you very much for talking to me.
You're welcome.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You could stand me up at the gates of hell, and I won't back down. I'm gonna stand my ground. Won't be turned around. And I'll keep this world from dragging me down, but I stand my ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way just one life in a world that keeps on pushing me around, but I stand my ground and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground and I won't back down.
We have accepted, so to speak, a second Bill of Rights, under which a new basis of security and prosperity can be established for all, regardless of station or race or creed. Among these are the right to a useful and remunerative job in the industry, or shops, or farms, or mines of the nation. The right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation. The right of farmers to raise and sell their products at a return which will give them and their families a decent living. The right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies at home or abroad. The right of every family to a decent home, the right to adequate medical care, and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health, the right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age and sickness and accident and unemployment. Finally, the right to a good education. All of these rights spell security, and after this war is won, we must be prepared to move forward in the implementation of these rights to new goals of human happiness and well-being.